This is the House of Hockey podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. Hockey is more than a game, it's a lifestyle. It's you, the diehard supportive fans, your favorite players who are on the team you cheer for, and the organization who supports them.
The companies that make your gear, bags, and beer league sweaters. The hockey moms and hockey dads, and everything else that makes this House of Hockey your home. Come on in. I'm Breezy.
And I'm Rae Rae.
And this is our house.
It's everyone's favorite tournament of the year. The golfers are in Augusta, Georgia to compete for the coveted jacket. And DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is putting you in the center of the action by giving you a shot to land in the green. See what we did there? This week, DraftKings is giving you a free shot at the $1 million top prize when you download and sign up using promo code THPN. That's THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network. If you haven't tried DraftKings, this is the time. It's so fun and it's easy to play. You just pick 6 golfers, you stay under the salary cap, and submit your lineup before the tournament tees off early Thursday morning. Then you just sit back, put on the golf, and follow the action. The more red numbers they have on the leaderboard, the closer you'll be to winning some green. Rack up points for pars, birdies, finishing position, and more. Even if you don't know what that is, you can still watch and have fun and make money. So even though you may not be able to hit the course with the pros, DraftKings is giving you the chance to scratch your competitive itch and reign supreme. Download the DraftKings app now and use code THPN, that's THPN for the Hockey Podcast Network, during sign up. This week, DraftKings is putting you in the action with a free shot at the $1 million top prize. Use code THPN and you can get a free shot at the $1 million top prize only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply, and see DraftKings.com for details.
What's up, guys? You are listening to the House of Hockey podcast. I am one of your hosts, Breezy.
And I'm your other host, Rae Rae, and this is episode 56.
Yes, 56, and we have a super cool guy on the episode this week. This is we have Kenny Ryan in, and he played professional hockey he played for the AHL, the ECHL. He played over in Europe. He was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs alongside, who was in his draft year? John Tavares,
Duchesne, Oliver Ekman-Larsson,
Victor Hedman. The guy's
Robin
crazy.
Lehner. Yeah, I mean... That's his draft class from 2009. So
not a big deal at all. Just not a big deal. But
no, and he's so casual about it too. The draft was like cool. We were at a hotel. You'll hear his experience with the draft. We asked him about that story and his coaching career. You're going to hear all about that. How he wound up coaching the girls and what that's like, and how it's impacted his life, and how he's helping them, and women's hockey, growing that sport from a professional aspect. And we got a couple good bus stories out of him too from his days in the A.
Definitely. So all around good episode. Loved having Kenny on, and we're super excited for him to come to LA and hang out with us so we can do a live podcast episode, hopefully in the near future.
Seriously, how cool will that be when we can go live at like a bar somewhere and just bring in a bunch of people and chat and live broadcast? I mean,
that'd be cool.
Also, does it bother you that I just offer up your barbecuing services to every single guest we've had on when you're like, come on over? I'm like, and Breezy can cook. It's because like I can't cook. I mean, I can cook like 4 things, but I'm like, Breezy will just barbecue. Like I'll give you money, you cook, and like that. Does that bother you?
It doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
I mean, you've offered my services to Carlin Bade, and she said that she would offer it for the chartered flights with LA Kings. I mean, my future could be somewhere. I don't know. We'll see what happens. No, it doesn't bother me one bit. You're fine.
Okay.
I saw this new recipe that I feel like you would be really good at making.
What
But
is it?
I
Like
don't I don't know.
Kraft macaroni and cheese?
I don't know. I might be regretting this because you do have to use a toaster, and I don't know how well you are with a toaster.
It varies. I have burnt a
Okay.
few pieces of toast and had to throw them away.
Okay, well maybe I'm just like new to this train, but you take a piece of toast
Okay.
and you put ricotta cheese on it and then drizzle with honey. And you can add pear if you want. Doesn't that sound good?
Ooh. I think I could manage that.
I think you could too.
I think I could do a good job with that. I have a shut the front door. Nathan MacKinnon is chucking buckets.
He is.
Okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, Nathan MacKinnon decided during the who were they playing? The Coyotes?
Yes, the Coyotes.
Couple days ago. The Coyotes. He was frustrated and there was a scuffle on the ice and Nathan MacKinnon picked up a helmet off of the ice and just whipped it at the Coyotes' Connor Garland and like hit him in the head. He got a game misconduct penalty, a $5,000 fine for chucking a bucket. I am really disappointed in him because who throws a fucking helmet?
Okay,
Use
well,
your fists like
yeah.
any good hockey man will do and punch the guy in the face. He didn't have the helmet on. Why are you chucking a helmet? That's so lame. Such a stupid fine. That's like what we saw with Jordan Binnington, like trying to fight everybody else because he got pulled out of the game. I'm like, this is you're so no, you were this is no, we're not throwing helmets. No more of this. This is not what's happening in the game of hockey.
But isn't it
Fighting,
a rule to like once you lose your bucket, you have to immediately get off the ice, right?
yeah.
So
So
maybe Nathan was going, "Hey, dude, put your helmet on. I want to fight you." So he like chucked it.
no, don't defend him.
I'm not defending him. That came through my head, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I don't know. He shouldn't have thrown it. End of
It
story.
was
But
it was just so disappointing. When you get to play a sport where you can actually punch people in the face and fight them and like only get a 2-minute penalty and get to go back in the game, you decide to pick up a helmet and chuck it at somebody. Like, no, you're missing the point here. You're missing the beautiful aspects of this game, Nathan. And now you just look like a goober for doing that. Also, I do have a theory that we're seeing more of this erratic behavior because of the rivalries that have now been developing and the
mhm,
frustrations. I think that is compounded by so many different things, right? You're playing the same teams sometimes back to back. You're
mhm.
playing them 8 to 9 times. It's annoying AF. And you're quarantined, you're not going out to dinner, you're stuck in your hotel room, you're just going on a plane, like all of the things to release your frustrations are taken away. And so I understand why it's happening and I'm not super mad about it because it's sort of funny and fun for me to watch and then give him shit for on the podcast. but, but let's not throw helmets anymore.
I'm also going to bring up that our two teams have been playing each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are probably listening and watching, we are recording this on Saturday, and I just got the notification that the Preds and the Hawks game just started.
Oh yeah.
So, what's your prediction?
Well, considering we didn't do too well the last weekend we played you, I mean, your defense is very aggressive and they are very strong on the forecheck, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be the
Yeah.
forecheck.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about that before I say it. And the Blackhawks don't react well to that, and they
No.
haven't, and they have a hard time with you guys. You're very aggressive. The defense is really strong. So I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna go. Um, we're kind of losing some steam here and struggling a little bit these last couple of games. What do you
Well,
think?
I don't know. It's tough. The Preds have good games and they have bad games. there's a couple players that are maybe losing some steam, I would say. Philip Forsberg is out. He has an upper body injury, so that's going to sting a bit. But I think that they could do pretty well, but I never underestimate the Hawks one bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully they could win. They really need to win so they can get up, get the point streak up. But
Yeah.
we'll see what
Both of
happens. We'll
us
see
need
what
to
happens.
win. I know.
Yeah, I don't
We're
know.
we're like in that middle range, and all of these
Yeah.
games count. And I mean, like I said at the beginning of the season, just I don't expect any greatness, or if
Yeah.
they get a wild card to get into the playoffs, great. But I
Mhm.
also don't fully expect that to
Yeah.
happen. Did you
Yeah.
see Dylan Strome, who plays for the Blackhawks? He just became a dad. Like, maybe it's been a week now,
Yeah.
but he became
Yeah.
a dad, and then his first game back, he scored the first goal of the game for the
Really?
Hawks. Yeah.
That's
I was
pretty
like,
cool.
oh, baby is good luck.
Aw,
That's
little
good.
guy.
Those new dad vibes.
Yeah. Sheesh. That's funny. Nope, I
But
didn't see that though, but that's cool.
I'm here. I'm here with all of the
All
off-ice
the facts.
Blackhawks news. Well, not all
Oh,
of them, but do you have an update for us on your Roman Yossi paraphernalia from the auction?
no, not yet. The girl emailed me
Okay.
and she said, thanks for your patience while we're trying to get all of the stuff out. I'm still waiting. I don't know when it's going to get here, but anxiously awaiting. And I ended up saying, I told my dad, I said, man, this is what happened. I might have to hang it off the back of the house if it's big. And he goes, okay.
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 I just can't wait for the 18-wheeler to come barreling down your street in your like nice residential like cul-de-sac of a neighborhood, and people are gonna be like,
Uh,
what's happening at Breezy's house? And
I
it's like
know.
they're gonna need like 8 people to wheel this banner into the where do you want this, ma'am? Where should we
I
put
actually
it?
I actually had two smokers delivered like a week and a half apart. And they both came in a huge semi truck and it was the same delivery driver.
Oh my God. Are you barbecuing for Easter Sunday? Do you do Easter? Is that a thing in your world?
Well, Easter actually falls on my youngest nephew's birthday. So we're doing more of like a little birthday get together for him. He's turning 6. So I'm super excited for. I got him a mini hockey set for his birthday because he loves
Yes.
coming over and playing hockey in my room. The couch behind me, he calls it his talk about it couch. He likes to come up and talk about it and then stands on the balance board and has the hockey stick. So I got him a mini hockey stick and
Oh,
net, and I'm super excited to bring it to his house tomorrow so we can play. Um,
awesome.
but yeah, not really doing too much. I'm cooking nothing fancy. So,
And remember, everybody, Breezy's Nothing Fancy is really delicious food.
oh, well, I wanted to cook armadillo eggs, but I don't think I have enough time to do it.
What the hell is that?
An armadillo? You've never seen that?
Is that like a literal egg from an armadillo?
No, 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 no.
Do they lay
It's,
eggs? Like, what's happening?
I think so. They're reptiles, aren't they?
I think so.
I think
Okay.
so.
What is an
And
armadillo egg?
so it's a stuffed jalapeno,
Mm-hmm.
and then you wrap it in like sausage, like breakfast sausage, and then you wrap it in bacon, and so it's like an egg. Yep.
Okay. I'm here for that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put that on the menu for
For our
for
barbecue party,
for our
barbecue
barbecue
pod, our
podcast
barbecue pod party.
pod party in LA with like all of our people.
Yeah, and Roman Yossi will be there in
Of
banner form.
course. Of
Yeah.
course, that will be the backdrop behind us
Yes.
podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our podcast is proud to be on the Hockey Podcast Network, and the network is home to many other incredible podcasts, including this one.
Now a show that's going to give you the truth about the biggest epidemic of our times. We're all a little crazy.
We're All a Little Crazy is brought to you by the Same Here Global Mental Health Movement and the Hockey Podcast Network.
This is NHL great mental health advocate and member of the Same Here Alliance, Theo Fleury.
This is 20-year professional sports executive, mental health advocate, and founder of the hashtag Same Here Global Mental Health Movement, Eric Hewson.
This is Darren Ravel, sports business insider, mental health advocate, and founder of the Same Here Influencer Alliance.
We're so afraid as a society to rip the Band-Aid off the topic in a real way. Anytime you open up about something that's controversial or taboo, the first one through the wall always gets bloodied.
And that's why we're doing this. We don't mind being the ones getting bloodied. We put our stories out there well before it was a thing to do for a reason. Because as much as they're extreme examples of how far you can fall, they show everyone the challenging life experiences impact everyone, even those of us who have reached the top of our competitive industries.
The issue in media today, traditional media and social media, we are so quick to look for simple answers, simple explanations. We want everything wrapped in a bow. But this topic is messy. The nuances need to be explained.
Yeah, it needs real, long-form conversation like this.
I'm just thrilled that we can be real with people and address the current events happening in this space in real time and set the record straight. More talk happening doesn't mean it's helping the conversation move forward. The words we use matter.
We have the greatest mental health awareness in the history of our planet, and yet the mental health trends and outcomes are awful. It means the current messages aren't working.
Find me a person who hasn't faced trauma in their lives. Anyone. You can. Things have affected all of us. It's why we all say we are all a little crazy in our own unique ways.
This topic isn't for 1 in 5 of us with mental illness. It's for 5 in 5 whose mental health has been impacted. This isn't an athlete issue. It's not a musician issue. It's a societal one. This is the greatest epidemic of our time.
No, it's not about stopping any stigma. It's about us all saying same here. Our openness and the commonality in our struggles, that's what erodes stigma better and faster than any campaign telling people to stop anything ever will.
Available on all podcast apps. Do us a favor and download each episode before you listen. And if you're an Apple user, please rate and review the podcast as it helps us get these important conversations out to reach a larger audience.
We have Kenny Ryan, who is an American professional ice hockey right winger who was drafted 50th overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2009. He has played all over and is now the coach for the Little Caesars U16 Girls AAA, who just won state and are heading into nationals. Hear all about his playing career and coaching career during this conversation. So, Kenny?
So I played hockey the majority of my life. I retired probably about 2 years ago. I finished up playing overseas in Europe and then came back to Detroit, where my parents are from. My wife and I moved back here. And the last 2 years, I've worked with Brian Ralston. He has a hockey academy here in Detroit area. On the more of the skill and player development side of things. And then I've also been involved with the Little Caesars, hockey club. This was my first year. I actually coached a team. So it's been, a lot of fun, kind of transitioning out of playing into still being involved in hockey and, doing things on this side of it.
Nice. How was your time playing in Europe? We've heard some different, opinions on how certain players were treated and how their time was.
Yeah, I was very fortunate when I went over there. I've heard kind of some horror stories as well, and good places and not the best, I guess you'd say, but I was very fortunate. I was just outside of Zurich in Switzerland, and I absolutely loved it over there. It was practices and games. The traveling was much lighter and different compared to what it is in North America. And, every day over there, we get out of practice to be like 1 o'clock or so. And it's like, all right, well, where are we going to go today? Or what hike, what mountain are we going to go look at, whatever it may be. And, we got to go to, I think we went to Milan. We went to, of course, we went to Oktoberfest in Germany.
Ooh.
We went to London and, a bunch of little cities all around. But it was, a 3 or 4 hour drive and you're in some totally new country and you're seeing all these places. And I knew going into that year that I was probably getting closer to the end of my career and, finding that next chapter in my life, whatever that may be. So I wanted to really enjoy the experience over there as well. Not that hockey wasn't the reason as to why we were there, but, I also wanted to travel a bit more and, go see different things that I typically wouldn't be able to do over here.
Do you have like a favorite experience in Europe or a place that you went to or a story you can tell of your time in Europe?
I loved London. I think it was because where we lived in Switzerland, there's like 4 or 5 different regions where the main language is all different. Whether it's German or French or whatever that may be, Italian. And when we got to go to London, I was just like, it was kind of the time of the year. I just really kind of missed home at that point. It was, we're not quite halfway through the season, but it kind of feels like it. So going to London was really nice just because it was English speaking and it felt kind of like you're home. And I really loved that. And then, going to the Oktoberfest, my buddy he did play over in the first league in Germany. And we went over there for 2 nights and driving down the Autobahn and
Nice.
Driving back way too early in the morning to make it back for practice. And it was a long drive, but we made it. And it was a really cool experience though. I mean, it's something that I'll definitely always remember and was very excited to, be able to do that.
Definitely. So how did you get into coaching?
I kind of just fell into it, honestly. Like I got back and I knew that I wanted to keep being in hockey and I didn't know to what degree that may be. But when I started working with Brian Ralston at his academy, I give lessons on the ice, 3 or 4 groups a day. And I really enjoyed that. He's also the director of Little Caesars. And the first year I didn't do any team coaching, but this past year, an opportunity kind of came up with the U16 girls team and kind of had a phone call middle of August that a spot was looking to be filled. And, I really wasn't too sure. We had just had our firstborn, probably a month and a half, 2 months prior to that. So
Wow.
The smart thing to do would be to take on the coaching job and not really know the schedule during a COVID year and everything and just kind of go for it. So luckily it worked out. I've had a blast doing that this year. We actually just finished up states last weekend and we'll be going to nationals in about 3 or 4 weeks, which is really fun. And they're a really special group. They're a really fun group. I've grown to like them more than I think I was planning on, which I joke about them with. But they're a really fun group. And, I'm excited for the success that they've had.
Because it's U16 girls, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where do you see like the future of professional women's hockey going? You're like so in it now coaching and seeing this next generation of, female hockey players coming up the ranks. And it's like, where do they go? What are they aiming for? You can get a college scholarship and the leagues are still kind of, undecided on which way it's going to go. And it's like, what do you say to those girls to like encourage them,
Well, I think it's such a unique time for women's sports, but especially I think in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of it is getting the NHL to kind of back it as it does in basketball. I think there's been a lot of big steps over the past, several months or year in that field. But a lot of these girls, they dream just like all the boys, right? Like they want to play in the NHL or they want to have a league or an outlet where, yes, going to play college hockey is awesome. But, making a national team is incredible. But what's after that, And a lot of them don't want to stop playing hockey. And, I think it's only a matter of time. And I think that time is closer than it is farther, that there is a legitimate women's league that is backed by the NHL, that has, these women are making money to live off of, not just, a minimal paycheck, but can make careers out of this. And I think it's close. I don't think it's something too far down the line. And, I know that the talent pool for these girls and, the training just in general these days is so much more advanced than what it was just a couple of years ago. So I think what you're seeing on the ice is, it's worth watching as well. I mean, there's a girl on
Explain more about debunk that myth, that rumor that's it's not as exciting to watch, because
so there's a girl on our team actually, probably about a month and a half ago. She had this highlight that was on ESPN. It was number 2. It was all over, social media. She dragged it on her heel, put it between her legs. It was all of them. And it was really cool. And everybody's like, is that girl on your team? I'm like, yeah. She's like, how did she do that? I'm like, they all do it. I'm like, their skill level these days is just so much higher. But, for me, I had never coached girls hockey. I had never been on this side of it. I've been on the ice with girls here and there training, but never in a team with a full team. And I've enjoyed it so much. There's no egos in it. They just want to learn. They absorb everything, and they just want to get better. And they've really grown in my eyes. Our assistant coaches have done a great job working with them as well. And I just think that there is this kind of idea that going to watch a girls hockey game, it's not as fun and it's not as fast, it's not as whatever it may be. And to a degree, girls hockey compared to boys or men, there's different because physically we're built different. But if you go watch a girls game, they're not allowed to technically check. So sometimes there's a lot more skill involved instead of guys just running around trying to kill some. So, it all depends on how you look at it. But I really do think sooner than later, there's going to be a legitimate avenue for these girls and women to play post college and not just national team and make a living and a good one in that.
Would you say that the training is different or slightly different, or is it completely the same between men and women hockey?
I would say at the youth level, when you're younger, when you're 10, 12, 13, your body's still developing, so you're not necessarily lifting, which goes for everyone. But I know for the girls on our team, they all have their individual, most of them have individual trainers throughout the year that they'll see, 2 or 3 times a week. And that's weight training. In the summertime, they're working out in groups with the guys and they're doing the hill sprints and the sled pushes and the cleans and, nothing's really different. It's just kind of this view that some people have on women in hockey, but just in general that, they do this differently, or they can't skate as much, or they, whatever it may be. And really for me, I didn't really know one from the other because I had never just really been on this side of women's hockey. But now in this year, it's all the same. If I'm upset with them, we're still going to skate. If we are doing well, they'll hear congratulations, and nothing really changes that much. But it was eye-opening to me, to say the least, that I'm seeing videos of guys that I know who are playing in the OHL or who are, just signed, and they're training in the summers and wherever that may be. And, in the background, in the second or third group, I see 3 girls that I've skated with or trained with that are doing the same things. And it's not surprising to me. But I don't think that it's talked about or publicized enough that, hey, it really doesn't matter. We have a goal and they have a goal. And at the end of the day, it's still just playing hockey and training to be the best that you can be.
Yeah. Tell us, since we're talking sort of about
Yeah.
the youth and being young and coming up in hockey, you were drafted in the '09 class for the
Yep.
NHL, right? By Toronto.
Yep.
Take us through the like mental state and where you were at when when you're that, how old were you then?
So I had just turned 18, I believe.
Okay, so you're like 18, and did you knew you were going to be like in the draft and a team was going to
Yep.
pick you? Like, tell us about that whole experience.
So I was fortunate. I played for the U.S. national program, which was out of Ann Arbor. And kind of going into that year, a good amount of us knew that we were going to either be drafted or there's a good chance or where it might be, things of that nature. And going into that summer, I was committed to Boston College. I'd actually committed to BC when I was in eighth grade. I was really young.
Wow.
And then I ended up staying there for about 2 months and I ended up leaving and going to play in Windsor. That was after I was drafted. So going into the draft, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of come from a football family. My dad and brothers played football in college. And for myself, it was just like, I was the one that stuck it out with hockey and it turned out all right. So going into that, I mean, I can just remember my brothers, my parents, and I just kind of at the hotel, like, oh, this is fun. Like, could get drafted tomorrow. And, I had a family advisor agent at the time, and, you're hearing things, hey, it could go first round to third, it could, who knows? But, kind of at the end of the day, it was such a great experience. It was in Montreal.
Cool.
And, we had a lot of fun while we were there, but I can remember, right after I was drafted, Brian Burke at the time was the GM of the Leafs, came up to me, shook his hand. I was like, thank you very much, Mr. Burke. And right away, he's like, don't ever call me Mr. Burke again. You call me Berkey. And I'm like, all right, a little nervous. And then he said, congratulations. There's about 3,000 other kids that didn't get drafted today, so start working. And that was it. And it was a real eye-opening experience for me. You hear all the time, and especially more from a football family, it's like, oh, the draft, this is so cool. and in hindsight, it was just, you made it to this point, you're on someone's radar, congratulations, nice pat on the back, nothing to, take lightly. It's still a very big deal, but he was more so, now there's a lot of kids that are upset that they're not in your position. So what are you going to do? So it was a really cool experience right off the bat there. And, definitely one I won't forget. So.
Yeah. That's interesting to hear, just how much it's changed, I think, in that amount of time from '09, where now it's like this, you've got, the Alex Trebek who filmed a video to announce the draft pick, and it's like a whole production, and we've got cameras in the homes, and I mean, obviously it was a little different with COVID and all that, but it's just changed. And I think it's just interesting for me to hear, because I'm going to rattle off a few names for everybody listening that was in your draft class. That was John Tavares, Matt Duchene, Evander Kane, Brady Shen, the European skaters, Victor Hedman, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Carl Klingberg,
This is a deep draft.
Yeah. I mean, you're
Yeah.
amongst this group of players, which is just incredible. Like, so did you get to hang out with any of them? Were you friends with any of the guys there? Or were you like enemies with any of them? like, like rivals on the ice. I guess enemy is not the right word, but
So we had, I want to say that we had probably I could be totally wrong, but from that US team, I want to say we had around 7 guys drafted or something like that.
Wow.
Maybe more, maybe less. I really can't remember. If I thought about it here, I'm sure I could figure it out. But so we had those guys drafted, and then, while we were there, we had the combine prior to that, where you go. The combine was really cool. So you go, you stay in the hotel, and I think there were about 50 guys invited to it. And basically you get a little binder, and here's your list times of interviews, and you have a workout.
Right.
So I think every team I had to do an interview with, and basically the interviews were 10-minute segments, and then there's 5 minutes in between, and then you go to the next interview all in the hotel. So like for 4 hours, I'm just like going room to room, like, with my utmost attention and trying to ask the right questions. And
Mr. Burking, everybody.
Yeah, some are super serious. Some are like I can remember Toronto asking, like, would you rather go to dinner with the president or Sean Avery? And I'm like, why do you need to know this? What does this possibly have to do? And they asked everybody that, and some, I'm sure, were just looking for reactions. Some were.
Wait, how did you answer?
I'm pretty sure I said Sean Avery because I think he's just like a very funny, interesting human.
That's what I would say.
Just like questions, what would you be doing if you weren't playing hockey? What do your parents do? Do you have brothers and siblings? What motivates you, or putting you in just different awkward situations to see how you respond. So the interview process was really interesting and cool, exciting, whatever you want to call it. But then at the combine, we had to do, the workouts, whether it was, a frog jump, how high, your vertical, your grip. And then I can just remember we had to do the VO2, which was, for anybody that doesn't know it, you're hooked up to all these breathing. It measures, your oxygen that's coming in and how much lactic acid you're pushing out. And you basically go until you fail. Like you're on this bike, and every, I think 3 minutes, they take part of your body weight, and then there's some type of formula where, they add more weight every 3 minutes. So it's like a long burnout, basically, to where you can't go anymore. And some guys, 8 minutes, some guys 18 minutes. And it really doesn't matter how long you go. It really depends on how much oxygen that you're pumping out or you need to take in. So I can remember being on this thing, and, there's like 100 scouts just right in front of you, watching you just feel miserable on this thing. You're breathing in this tube, and you're like, I gotta keep going. And, you're getting to the point where your muscles are literally like building up, where you're like, I can't move anymore. And I just remember throwing up all over, and I pulled the thing out of my mouth, I throw up all over, and I just put it right back in, and I just kept going for like a minute, and then I was done for sure. But I wasn't the only one to definitely do that. And I would guess, if you ask any guys, what is worse, what's the worst part about, testing, anybody will say the VO2 or the Wingate, because it's both a bike. So it was fun.
I'm sure you got go ahead.
Yeah, like having a tube in your mouth, and like that's uncomfortable. But to have to work out, with that, like it would immediately make me want to vomit. That's crazy.
We had to do that every year too. And I'm pretty sure every camp I went to, I had to do a VO2 or a Wingate. And the Wingate might be worse. It's 30 seconds, and it's part of your body weight, or they drop this weight and you pedal as hard as you can for 30 seconds. And I would almost rather do the other one.
Oh my God. Wow. But, I mean, I'm sure you got bonus points for yakking and then continuing,
Maybe.
Yeah, this shows you've got dedication and grit, and you're gonna go until the whistle. I would be like, oh yeah, he threw up, but
Yeah,
he kept going. We're gonna put a star next to that guy.
Right.
Oh no, I'm just very uncomfortable thinking about the whole situation. Actually, first of all, I hate vomit, and then to think about having a tube in your mouth, you're just this is bad.
Okay, well, we'll change the subject. Let's talk about your childhood growing up. And I read this, so tell me if it's accurate. But you grew up next door to Jack Johnson, not the singer, but the current NHL player on the Rangers.
I did. Yeah, Jack.
Now, yeah, tell us the story. Like, what was that like? Are you friends? Are you not? The whole. Give us the scoop.
So, ironically enough, for anybody that knows, there's a guy who used to play basketball for Duke, and he was like the most hated college basketball player. His name was Christian Leitner, and he was a guy. If you guys ever watch a highlight, they throw the ball all the way inbounds, and he like catches it all the way down the court, turns, shoots to win. And he played for Duke, and he was like if you look him up, he'll be all over. But he actually lived in that house prior for when he played for the Pistons, to the NBA team here. And then they moved out, and I was probably like 8 or 9 years old. And then this hockey family from Minnesota moved in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best. Like, because my dad would build a rink every year in our backyard in the wintertime. Cool. So then that kind of, introduced that. And he lived there for probably 2 or 3 years. And, I kept in touch with him for a while there. And then, his career went one way. I started mine. And I saw him not too long ago. Actually, I saw him last year. I went and watched a buddy of mine play in Detroit, and he was playing for Pittsburgh. So I just went up to him after, said hi, and, caught up, asked how my family was doing and stuff. But it was pretty small circle in that regard.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Not being siblings, but like randomly neighbors, and like two
Right.
very talented hockey players coming into the league and playing in the A and all of that. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. So that was cool that he lived there, and my brothers, obviously, I was the youngest of 3, so they always just used to beat me up outside. And
I'm surprised you're not a goalie, because
right?
That's how that always goes. They put the youngest in goal,
Yeah, so standard brother stuff there. But I actually grew up playing my whole life for Detroit Honey Baked. Played my youth hockey there, and I was fortunate to play basically from 9 or 10 years old until I was up until 15, 16, where I was fortunate to play for the U.S. program, which at the time was out of Ann Arbor. Now it's out of Plymouth, Michigan. But was there for 2 years, and then went for a little stint at Boston College for about 2 months, and then left and played 2 years in the OHL before heading to Toronto.
That's cool. All right. We need some stories like that you can share. We're not trying to get anybody in trouble, but like rookie parties, buses breaking down, pranks, crazy coaches. Like, give us anything within the safety realm of storytelling.
One that I thought was actually hilarious. It wasn't too long ago. When I was playing in San Diego for Anaheim's affiliate, there was a guy on our team, Joseph Cramarosa, and we were driving. I want to say it was from we were going from San Diego to Stockton, which was Calgary's affiliate, and driving up the highway, and our bus broke down. And I don't know why it broke down, but they were like, hey, we're going to be here until the repair comes out. And so we're out there just on the side of a highway for 45 minutes, and all of a sudden this Uber Eats pulls up, and we're like, what is going on? And next thing you know, Joe on our team just starts walking up. He's like, hold on. And he ordered the Uber Eats to the side of the highway to drop off food for him because we were just stuck there. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Like, to this day, I'm just like, no way. He ordered, his to-go food to the side of the highway. Like, how do you even locate that? There was a lot of questions.
What did he even order?
I don't remember. I just remember it was just absurd that he did that to the side of the highway. I mean, there's always stories that happens on buses. I mean, when we played in when I played on the US team, not that this is funny, but I can remember driving home from like the UP and we hit, I think, like a deer or two and had to pull off and switch buses, and that could have been dangerous. But there's always those stories that, if you just start talking, more and more of them just start to come up.
That's crazy.
Like, what kind of player are you in the locker room? Are you the like funny guy? Are you the music guy? Are you Captain Serious? Like, what's your vibe?
I think when I was playing, I like to keep it relatively lighter. There's definitely moments or times where it's, you got to be a little bit more serious than others. But I think I was, not looking for a laugh, but would, say one thing or, a subtle comment here or there that would, get some guys to loosen up or whatever it may be that was needed to make sure that we were all doing our part and ready to go. So,
would you say that you translate that to the locker room now, being a coach?
It's been a little bit different this year, especially just with coaching with the girls. I know for myself, I'm really only in the locker room right before the game. But when I'm on the ice with them, in practices, they can tell, we're having fun, we're messing around, we're joking. But when it is, you're a rep or it's time to work, it is time to work. But otherwise, I like to, have fun, get to know the person, not just the hockey player, and, make it a fun experience for them. Because I think back to when I was their age and coming up, what were my coaches like, or what were my experiences like? And I always felt that, the more I can relate with a coach or a player, the more successful that player will be. But also, you want them to remember this time in their life, and when they look back, to it be a positive experience, and think back to, man, that was a really fun time, or we were successful, or whatever it may be. So hoping to just kind of have that impact on them, and I think at the same time they're also having a really big impact on me.
Definitely. Do you have any advice for any young players trying to make an impact in the game?
I think the one question that I've gotten a lot is, how do you see my daughter? How do you see my son? Where do you think they're going to be? And, the biggest thing that I've realized, and if there is one thing that I know for sure is true, is everybody's development is different and everybody's path is different. And if there was one way to do it, everybody would be doing it that way. So, just because so-and-so has an offer at 15, 16, and you don't get one until you're 18, 19, doesn't matter that, or it doesn't mean that you might not have as good of a career as them. You just might have taken a little longer to get to that point. And, just because you make it, it's one thing to make it, but it's another thing to stay there and, to be relevant and compete. So I just think everybody, do what you can to maximize the most out of your own potential. It's hard to not care or think about everybody else because they're your peers. Mm-hmm. But when you can really kind of understand that, hey, my path's going to be different than the next person's path, and I'm just going to hone into that and try and maximize that the most I can, I think that's when, you'll find success.
That's good advice. You said, I want to rewind just a second. You said that the girls were having just as much of an impact on you as well. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I've always enjoyed coaching. I always thought that, someday, whether it was, for years, whether it was for a month, whatever it may be, that I was going to get involved in it. And, we've had a really fun, successful year. We just finished up states. We won, which was great. Our record, actually, we were 56-1-2 on the season. So we've had a very successful year, I guess you'd say, in that terms. But, just coming to the rink, there's, those times in the year where the days seem long and, you're getting home from tournaments and you have practices the next day. But there really hasn't been a time this year where I've been like, oh, I've got to go to practice tonight. It's, they're such a energetic group, and they want to get better. Like, we practiced between games and practices. I think we were on the ice like 6 out of 7 days, and we ended on a Sunday. And then on that Monday, I was like, all right, guys, like, no practice today, got the day off. And you would have thought like somebody was so mad at me because they were like, what do you mean we don't have practice? And I'm like, guys, day off, like, it's fine. They're like, well, can we still have the ice? Like, is it still there? And I'm like, all right, we'll be there. I'll be there, guys. And, we just had like a fun scrimmage practice, but it just made me think back to when I was their age. And, your best friends are the ones on your hockey team, right? And that's your group. That's where you feel, in a sense, comfortable. That's just where things feel right. So for me, it was like, yeah, let's just go have practice and let's be out there and mess around. And, I find a lot of joy in that, seeing them happy and excited and competing. And, for me as a coach now, that's kind of all I could ask for out of them.
Definitely. Well, should we hit them with the last 3?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Okay. I'll start it off, and then Breezy, you take it over.
Okay.
We ask all of our guests these questions, men, women, doesn't matter who.
Yep.
Who is your ultimate hockey hunk?
Hockey hunk. Interesting. Huh. So I was a big Red Wings fan, and like, we used to have like Red Wings parties, cup parties and all that, like in the 90s and stuff. And it was so fun. But I can remember Sergei Fedorov getting like his Nike skates and like the white, and like had like a little bit of his hair. And it was like, who's this Russian guy? And I just remember thinking he was like the coolest thing ever to walk this earth. And he was. So that'd probably be mine for, back then at least.
We've heard him before. That has been and Stevie Y as well.
Okay,
from your
yeah.
Detroit family.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And who's your favorite hockey lady?
Hockey lady. Interesting. Hillary Knight, I feel like, is all over, like, the social media. I mean, rightfully so. I like Brianna Decker a lot. I like watching her. But, there's a couple of girls actually at the beginning of this year. We were fortunate enough to get a couple of them to kind of send in a little message to our team, like a 15-20 second clip. And there was probably, 15 girls from the US and Canada national teams that sent in a little good luck on your season clip. So off of that, I mean, all of those girls, I guess I'd say, we were thankful for that. So
that's awesome. Dang. That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's incredible to hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I've noticed too, is such support and giving back to the younger girls. Like, I think the girls that are currently, on national teams or on Olympic teams and playing at a high level, they realize the impact that they have, and they realize that their sport, I think, is almost there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they take it upon themselves to make sure that they're giving back, or they're, doing a podcast, or they're sending good luck messages or tweet, whatever it may be, to the 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls, because, Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid, well, there's Hillary Knight and Brianna Decker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how these girls view them. And I know it's super important, to the girls on my team, but I think it's just as important for the game itself.
We totally
Definitely.
agree with that. Yeah, it's about, we've talked to different people in all aspects of the sport of hockey on, how do you balance the team mentality of hockey, but also, especially on the women's side, allowing the personalities to come through, because we
Right,
have to, as fans, get to know who these people are. And story is the best way to do that, and be invested in who they are. And it creates that popularity that you also need to grow the sport. So it's, we're always advocates here for the women's games and the women's
definitely.
leagues, to just encourage people to go watch when they are on TV, because it
Right,
matters. And in the long run, all of that
definitely.
pays
I
off.
think it's super important, and I think they're doing a great job as to how they're trying to highlight it and bring exposure to the women's game. And I think if they just kind of keep following those footsteps and pressing on, I think sooner than later some really big and exciting things will come.
For sure. Well, you mentioned Sidney Crosby, and that is our final question of the final three. Do you have a Sidney Crosby story?
um, I do. Um, I think it would have been, geez, I would have been young. I was probably 14 or 15. And for me at the time, this was when family advisor agents were starting to get interested, I guess, or, call around. And I was fortunate. My uncle actually lived in Pittsburgh at the time, and we went out to a Penguins game and was with his agent at the time. And after the game, I got to go down, and he was super busy. And I was like, why are there so many people around? Like, what are they? And it was right when they were starting to film that commercial for, I don't know if it was like a Gatorade or what it may have been, but like all these kids like have hockey sticks and they throw them in the middle. And then, it's like a pickup game outside. I'm sure you can look it up online, but just like tons of kids throw their sticks in the middle. And then like Crosby walks over, grabs a stick, and is like, hey, you guys want to play, or something along those lines. But I met him after that game, and he was just like, in his sweats after. And I can just remember like thinking like, God, this guy's legs are so big. Like, just like tree trunks. And I'm like, I'm 14. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's not that much older than me. Like he's 4 or 5 years older. And he might have been, like a rookie in the NHL at that time, or, a first, second year kind of guy. And, but I mean, that was my only real run-in with him. I can just remember, it's just like God walks through these doors, and you're looking at him, and it was pretty cool. So
That is cool. Oh, I wanted to ask you, do you have a nickname? What's your nickname?
I don't think I really do. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to give like a nickname to like Ryan or like Kenny. Like it's pretty boring. Um, but I'm sure I've had some throughout the year here or there. So
And what do they call you? Coach Ryan or Coach Kenny?
they just call me Kenny or Coach. Like I'm not like you got to call me Coach. Like it's just there's that respect given and taken. They know when it needs to be given, and but at the same time, I want to have fun and not be like that 7-year-old coach that I had or didn't have that's barking at you and all that stuff. So they just call me Kenny or Coach Kenny.
Awesome. Well, where can our listeners follow you?
I only have Instagram, and it's just KR_hockey_development. I've got some videos on there, some old interviews with some old teammates, some hockey training stuff, and just it's kind of fun.
Thank you so much for taking the time. And
Absolutely. Definitely. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And I like what you guys are doing.
thanks for coming over to our House of Hockey podcast and hanging out with us. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And in the meantime, you can follow us on social media. Just look for House of Hockey podcast. We'll be back next week.